Yo, 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 yo. We are back. Another episode of the Get It Bucket podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron, and my guy, Kevin Lucas. What's going on, my guy?
Man, I'm straight. I should be feeling way down now because the Heat lost to your Knicks, but I'm not even down that bad.
We live
It's
another
all
day,
good.
man. We
It's
live
all good.
another day. Hemi Butler was not Hemi today. So, Jalen Brunson did his thing. I think, Mitch didn't drop the ball too much. So we straight. We live another day. There will be a game 6 in Miami. You know, it's been crazy, right? It's just like, and we talked about this before, like, y'all went from a quarter away from not even being in the play, right? Y'all lose to Atlanta. Y'all have the up and down season that is. And then y'all lose to Atlanta, who was like, we didn't know what the hell Atlanta was. Then y'all, Chicago come back, almost win that. So it's like, all right, then you get the Bucks first round. It's like, all right, this probably 4 or 5 games, and then boom, y'all get away from the conference finals. But it's a fun series. It's been fun. I'm just happy my team's this deep in it. So we're gonna see. We got game 6 Friday, so it's gonna be fun. But Kev, we got a good show for you guys today. You know, it's been quiet. That's why we didn't get to do something last week, and I was sick too. I caught some crazy throat infection and all that. So I was down for like a few weeks. So, but we back. A lot of news to get over. So we gonna get into. But obviously, you see in the background, Bronny finally made the decision. Okay, we know we've been waiting for a minute for this boy to make a decision. And I remember we talked about this a while ago. We thought USC was a distant third. I know, and it was probably we were like Oregon's probably the spot. Maybe Ohio State because Braun loves big Ohio State fans for lives in Ohio and all that. And Oregon, obviously, because the Nike tie. Oregon takes a lot of L's, man. They
A
take,
lot.
the state of Oregon, be taking a lot of L's. You think they would have more success with Nike, but the logo can only take you so far in Oregon and all that. But I thought it was Oregon that was going to be the spot, but obviously that was not the case. And as we got closer, it kind of you're hearing a lot from other people, that was like, all right, it seems like it's probably going to be USC, and it was like, okay, because maybe because of Isaiah Collier, him being there, maybe takes a spotlight, but Bronny decides that he will be a USC Trojan. And USC athletics this year, I mean, there's been some down years for USC as a whole. Football team kind of struggling. Basketball team has kind of been irrelevant for a little bit. But USC is back on the map. They land Bronny James. Huge pickup for them. Then they also added, DJ Rodman, Dennis's kid, also, transfer from for Washington State. Obviously, Isaiah Coley, the number one recruit in the country, they got him in there early. So Bronny is a USC Trojan. What's your first reaction when you heard Bronny is going to USC?
I love it. Honestly. Like you said, I always thought it was gonna be Oregon just because of the Nike ties. It's on the
Mm-hmm.
West Coast. LeBron got his own whole building up there in Portland. But to me, I always said that USC offered the most playing time. And
Yeah,
the best opportunity was at USC. And so with
100%.
that team, you're going to get the number one player in the class of 2023, arguably in Isaiah Collier out of Wheeler, where Jalen Brown went to high school down there in the A. You're going to get Arrington Page, who's his teammate, 6'9" to help,
Yeah, there's
bolster up
another
that
good
front
one.
court. And then, you bring back Boogie Ellis, former Duke commit from San Diego. He's using
Mm-hmm.
his extra year, his 5th year of eligibility, that extra COVID year. And I love it. I just think Bronny plays a good brand of basketball, and I honestly don't feel like he's got enough credit for the progress he's made, especially the last couple years. And he's destined for this. And it's a chance he could start. It's a chance he could be the 6th, 7th, or 8th man, but he's gonna play. And it's not just that he's gonna play because he's LeBron James' kid. He's gonna play because he's an actually good basketball
He's
player.
100%.
And so, the defense is going to help him get on court minutes off the rip. He can knock down shots off the catch and shoot. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective. So I love it, man. I love it more. I don't know why a lot of people thought and assumed that he was just going to end up at Ohio State. That move never made sense at all just because of the recruiting class that they have. And again, I know LeBron wants to go to his games. For those of y'all that don't know, Staples Center is literally like down the street from Galen Center where USC plays their games at. So I assume the fans going to be at all the home games at the least, and probably the away games too. But this is a great move for Bronny, man. I'm honestly happy for him. This is the best opportunity for him to thrive at the college level is at USC.
Yeah, and that makes sense for him to stay close home, right? Because they live in California, like, and it allows LeBron to it's just an easy trip to go watch. You know he's gonna watch. You know it's LeBron's in a rare situation as a parent, right? Most parents they have the free they'd be able to fly whatever, and I think if he was a regular parent, and he had Ohio State ties maybe, but he's still playing and he's still playing at a high level, so and he wants to make it as convenient as possible. But I'm sure Bronny had a lot of obviously input to where he wanted to go, and it just made sense playing wise too. Like Oregon situation kind of in flux and all that. Ohio State situation kind of the same. So it kind of made sense, for Bronny to go pick USC, stay close to home, be in a good situation that's ascending, right? And the program as a whole is ascending too. So want to be a part of that boom and all that, because like I mentioned before, USC, there's been some down years, but obviously with Lincoln Riley coming on, Caleb Williams, and then that program seems like it's getting that juice back. Now you at Bronny, Isaiah Collier, like they got some skies there. That it's going to be a very, very fun times, when school starts up in the fall and all that. But it was a good move, and we finally it was fine. We've been waiting for it, right? And we finally got to see where he's going. But it's definitely exciting and all that. And you mentioned for like he could play. There's no like because obviously that's just natural. Like because his dad is who he is, it's just gonna be like people are gonna he's overrated and all that, and like he's getting an extra boost in his rankings and all that because that comes with the territory, right? You see that with Arch dealing with that at Texas and all that, and like I remember people getting on Arch because his first spring game, like he struggled a little bit. It's like you do know he's 18 years old, right?
Exactly.
And like he comes with a lot of pressure, and I think that's good. We're gonna see that with Bronny. Like his first game, he might struggle. He might not get the minutes. People think, oh, he's a bum and all that. Like I just hope we have patience, right? Let him develop. Like if you see a lot of people, oh, he's not a top 10 pick, or he is a top 10 pick and all that. Just let him develop his game. Let's forget about that. He's LeBron James. He has the name and all that. Let's let him develop and let's see how the process goes. If it takes him 1 year and he won and done, good for him. If it takes him 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, let's let him develop in this game because, I think there's a lot of pressure being, a James. So, but great decision and all that. Like I said, USC seems like they're back in popping, and I'm sure in the left coast, with the way the Lakers went today and they're in the conference finals and all that, it's getting some juice back in the left coast and all that, but in basketball, but it's good for them. That's a great get, like I said, and they got some dudes and all that. So let's talk a little bit about that, USC, and as we, as the rosters get more settled, we're gonna dive into the each conference and all that and talk about the teams and all that for this offseason. But right now, USC, where do you think they stand right now?
Honestly, I'll probably say top 2 in the Pac-12. Maybe I'll say top 3 to be generous because they should finish top 3 because Arizona should be 1. UCLA won it last year, but Tiger's gone. Jaime Jaquez is gone. Amari Bailey's gone.
Yeah, they're losing a
Dan
lot.
Bona's low-key gone. David Singleton's
Yeah.
gone. So they're going to have to completely You're pretty much losing to Bellis. You lose Adama Ball, but you're going to bring back Umar Ballo. You're going to bring back Colin Boswell. They got Jaden Bradley, which is a major gift from Alabama. So they got players. I assume they're going to win it. But USC should be 2 because I don't think the roster is necessarily finished. Again, you mentioned DJ Rodman, who should be solid for them. But as of right now, they have a whole bunch of guards and they have a whole bunch of front court players. They got Bronny. They got Boogie Ellis. They got Isaiah Collier. They got Kobe Johnson. And in the front court, they got Vincent Uwachukwu, who I'm high on, 7-footer. He was a 5-star coming out of high school. He had a cardiac arrest incident last year that stalled most of his season, but he came back later in the season. He's going to be good for them. You bring back Kajani Wright as a sophomore. You bring back Joshua Morgan, who was big time for them. I think he averaged like a couple blocks a game. So they have players, and I like Isaiah Sellers too. I think Isaiah Sellers, he should be the knockdown shooter for them, and he should play a big role for them. He was a freshman, didn't play that much. He's from NorCal, but he's a player. But they got to get some wings, man. They need some 6'7", 6'8" guys that could defend at a high level and score. And I know they're looking at Kashad Johnson from San Diego State, but I'll be honest, I don't think they're going to get him. He's probably going to end up at Kentucky or Arizona. So stay tuned for that. But for now, I'm going to say they should be top 2 because, I mean, Utah could be nice. Colorado might be nice. I'm not going to sleep on the bus, but to me, there's no reason for USC not to be a top 2 team in this Pac-12 this upcoming year.
And how do you think the guard rotation is going to work? Because obviously you got Boogie coming back, and he's an experience, and in college you need experience, and he has a lot of that.
A lot,
and now, but you gotta, it's crazy to think that the number 1 player in the country is getting forgotten about because of the Bronny stuff. But like Isaiah Collier is a hooper. Like he could be the number 1 pick next season, and we're not even. People are forgetting about that. Like obviously Bronny is huge because of his name, but like Isaiah Collier might be the number 1 pick next season, So, and then obviously you had Bronny into all that. So how do you think they work the rotation?
It's weird because they actually started 3 guards last year. They started Drew Peterson, who was 6'9". He was kind of like a hybrid guy, but he was the captain. They started Boogie Ellis and they started Kobe Johnson. So you started 3 guards already. So I'm going to assume that they're going to go Collier, Boogie, and then Kobe Johnson will be the first 3 guards. And they should all start together. And they'll probably go like Josh Morgan and then Iwuchukwu. So Bronny should be the 6th or 7th man. Because, again, I'm really high on Isaiah Sellers. The key to me was supposed to be Trey White, but Trey White transferred out. He's going to Louisville now. But he was the perfect wing that I just mentioned that could score, defend, and do all those little things. But Bronny going into it, he should be the 7th man. But I have hope and faith that once they get into real practices in the upcoming summertime, he could earn more playing time through those practices. Like, I could definitely see that just because, again, like, he doesn't need the ball in his hands like Boogie or Isaiah Collier do. Like, Isaiah Collier is a hell of a player, but he can't really shoot like that. Like, he can get into the lane and make plays from there, but he's not a guy that's just going to get a bucket whenever he's willing to.
You think with Isaiah, since like he's not a great shooter and Boogie can shoot Boogie almost shot like 40% from 3. Do you think that they would trust Isaiah to run the point and have Boogie, because he can shoot, play more off ball?
Yeah, you have to.
I think you have to in that case.
Because Isaiah is by far the best playmaker on that team.
Yeah.
Like, Boogie can score at a high level, you know that, but he's kind of scrawny, and he don't really care about getting others involved like that. Like, he's about a bucket. Can he play make a little bit in spurts? Yeah. But that's where I think Bronny should be straight at, because Bronny could be the 2nd best playmaker on that team. Now, theoretically, if you're Andy Enfield, you probably don't want that to be the case. As a freshman, you don't want to put that on him. But that's why I like him, because, again, he's probably a better defender than both those guys I'm talking about too.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, he offers spacing when it comes to shooting, and they don't really have too much of that right now. So again, that's why I love the move for him, just because the opportunity is great there. At Oregon, it would have been a shell of himself. He would have had to play a tiny role. The leash would not be as long. At Ohio State, it just would have been weird. But SC, he can just go in and be himself. He can chill in the corner and knock down threes. And sometimes he'll get the ball to operate. And he can play make too and get to the lane. So again, you're going to have to start those first 3 guards that I mentioned, though, between Collier, Boogie Ellis, and Kobe Johnson. But after that, Isaiah Sellers will probably be the 6th man, and then it's Bronny right there. But again, he has a chance to really go in the summertime, kill, and get more reps. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up starting, because he's pretty much Kobe Johnson, but he can shoot the ball way better. But Kobe has that extra year over him, so it's kind of tough. Or a couple years, I think. But Bronny, the opportunity is there for Bronny. That's why I'm happy for him, because he chose the right school to go to maximize time. And don't forget, Andy Enfield's put players in the NBA, whether it's Evan Mobley, Kevin Porter Jr., Onyeka Okongwu, DeAnthony Melton, Chimezie Metu, like Jordan McLaughlin. It's players from USC in the league right now, so you got to put that into consideration too.
Yeah, and he's had a nice little track record. First couple years struggle, but he seems like he's gotten back in the right direction and all that. And like I said, hell of a recruiting class, and they could do some work in the Pac-12 and all that. I said UCLA's losing guys, Arizona's lost some guys, so they might be the sleeper and all that. They got some solid shooters and all that. Said Bronny has, a solid defender and all that. So I think he made the right move. We thought it's crazy to think that we thought USC was a distant third, and they wound up just flipping it and they were the number one, and they got Bronny and all that. So Bronny is a USC Trojan. It's going to be exciting times, but but it's just, I don't know if I can stay up that late, bro. They got the couple, couple early games. That's the only thing, man. Late, man. That's why I'm jealous about some of you. Y'all be watching games early, and I can still have time. It's like, yo, staying late to this game. I'm like, yo, it's not even halftime, right? Is it halftime? Like, it is 12 o'clock. But it's gonna be exciting times at SC. So gonna be good. Can't wait to watch that. But some other big news. Another name that we've been trying to wait for a minute to see where he's going, and that's Hunter Dickinson. He has chose the Kansas Jayhawks. We kind of figured that was kind of the spot he was going to land at, and he chose them, and I'm sure they gave him a nice payday.
He came out and said they did.
Yeah, and he said it to her respectfully. Hey, man, and I respect that. I respect that straight up, man. They gave him the bag. I mean, it might be worth it because that was a great pickup. So Hunter Dickinson chooses to go to Kansas and all that. To me, that was the spot. That was the spot. Self knows how to develop bigs and all that. So talk to me about Hunter Dickinson going to Kansas and how that helps them next, because they lost some guys too. They lost a lot of guys, the last few years, championship year, this year too. So tell me how he fits and how's they gonna help Kansas next season.
Man, Kansas has absolutely reloaded, because even though you're losing Grady Dick, you're losing Jalen Wilson, you're 50-50 on Kevin McCullough. If they get Kevin McCullough back, I don't think they will, but that would, to me, in my opinion,
I love McCullough. McCullough gonna be a 10-year pro, man. Some teams,
Yeah. If they get him back, though, I would personally put them as the number one team in the country. But even without him, I mean, again, you lose all that talent, but you got Arterio Morris out the transfer portal. That's a big time get, because he could just absolutely explode. You're already bringing in a talented as I don't know what recruiting class that has a Marco Jackson, Chris Johnson, alongside other guys. And your backcourt, you still got DeJuan Harris there. That's a national championship point guard. That's a guy that's been through all the wars possible that you can imagine in college basketball. So you have the ultimate floor general that's going to set up Hunter Dickinson. As I mentioned the last time we talked, like, he's going to get all the lob passes he wants to. He's going to get all the back screens for easy buckets. He's going to get all the comfortable post looks in all his favorable positions, pause. But he's going to eat. Like, Hunter's going to eat. He's going to feast. And that was always my biggest knock with Michigan, was that every year he was there, he played with a different point guard. If you're a 7-foot center, bro, you want to have some type of consistent chemistry with your point guard. And every year having to adapt to a new point guard, even though he's still going to have to do that in his last year at Kansas, at least he knows he's going to be playing with dudes
and like score first point guards too in Michigan.
Exactly.
Kobe Buffkin's a score first point guard.
Yeah, and I can't even forget they got Nick Towson too, who was a highly heralded transfer out of Towson. UConn wanted him badly because he's a knockdown shooter. He can kind of be like Jordan Hawkins. He's not as talented, but at this level, like, you can run him off a lot of screens and he can break open defenses. So Kansas is going to be stacked. Hunter made the right choice. Like, this is the perfect school for him. And they should. I'm not gonna say they're gonna dominate the Big 12, because they've done that for a long time, but they're gonna.
We got some new teams in the Big 12 too.
Houston,
Cincy.
Yeah, so I expect Kansas to still be number one. Iowa State is definitely gonna be a threat. I'm not sleeping on them. They've had a hell of a transfer portal season so far, but yeah, man, Kansas. Hey, Bill Self, he had that health scare, but he's still right back to it. So watch out for the Jayhawks next year, which shouldn't even have to be said, but I'm telling y'all in advance.
Yeah, I mean, that was the perfect move for him, and he's gonna have, still some. Even if McCullough decides to stay in the draft, which who knows, 50-50, depending, where, I think he's a draft. I think he's a draft pick. I think he's definitely gonna get drafted. Now, where he goes, that's gonna be the thing. So that's up to him. But if they get him back, you got to say them and Duke off the top of the head. 1-2, right? But even if they don't bring back McCullough, they still got, KJ Adams, Juan Harris, like they still got some, they got some players. Then you got Hunter Dickinson, who could be, it's probably gonna be a preseason All American, first, second team, depending what big man does. Edie at Purdue if he's coming back, they got a squad, man. Like I said, some new teams in the Big 12, and let's say we'll dive into that, a little later in the off season. We'll talk about the new additions to the Big 12 and all that, and see, where they're at and all that. But right now, I mean, currently constructed, I mean, they got to be the top dogs, out there. Texas, we still got to figure out, because they got some misses. They might have some guys coming back, some guys in the portal, so we got to figure them out. New coach, obviously, full time now. So figure it out. But Candace looking good. That was, money well spent. Money well spent for sure. So, that was a name that has been in lingo, and we finally figured out where Hunter Dickinson is going. And he be going to Kansas. So that's a good pickup for them and all that. What was the other name I was gonna say? I had another name in mind I want to talk about. In
Nemhard?
No. Who else did I have? That's someone else.
Ron Holland.
There we go. Ron Holland. So we were just talking about Texas. Ron Holland decided to decommit from Texas and all that. And we're hearing some other teams' name and all that. Why do you think it was because he committed to, at the time, Chris Beard, and that was like, all right, he saw the process and all that. It was probably like, not feeling it right now. Let me take a step back and Texas is still in it. They're still in it, but just to assess the situation a little bit better, because you committed to the coach, right? And now the coach he's at Ole Miss now. So Max, do you think that's the reason why he decided to decommit, and where do you think he will wind up, and playing basketball next season?
100%. I had a feeling it was going to happen the entire time. I give him and his family a lot of credit because they didn't let it affect them or waver them throughout the course of his last high school season. They actually waited until the season was over with. So I expected that. But as you said, you commit to a coach, not a school, right? It's about relationships. It's a relationship-based game. For those of y'all that don't know, as much as the brand is strong, relationships are even stronger. And that was the case. And Chris Beard had a stupid incident that we've already discussed, but he's at Ole Miss now. And honestly, it's just a game. Me personally, I fully expect Ron to end up at Arkansas with Coach Muss. I thought he probably should have went there originally, committed there originally, but hey, things take their time. Shout out to our guy Ramon. Ramon knows, because he said it all along. And that's the perfect fit for him. Why? Because Muss has a track record of putting guys in the NBA. You're seeing Moses Moody right now playing valuable minutes for Golden State. Jalen Williams is playing valuable minutes for OKC. You're seeing Isaiah Joe, same thing. So, like, they got players, right? And Muss, he's been there, done that. If you haven't seen Muss's resume, he's literally coached in every single country possible. And not even in
every level.
And that too. So, like, he's been around, man. And Arkansas is a perfect fit for him. We've already talked about their stacked recruiting class out the transfer portal. But getting a guy like Ron, I'll be honest, this is probably breaking news, but by the time y'all hear this, I low-key heard that Jordan Walsh might be in the transfer portal. So we'll see if that's true or not. But if you lose a guy like Jordan Walsh, Ron Holland is the perfect replacement because he's literally kind of the same thing. He's more of a 4 than a 3. Jordan's probably a 3 more than anything, but Ron can play both. He's a very versatile player. He's a do-it-all energy guy, hustle guy, gets offensive putbacks. He runs the lanes hard. His three-point shot is getting better and better. So that would be a hell of a pickup for Eric Musselman. I do think ultimately he will be a Razorback playing in the SEC this upcoming season.
And like you said, he puts dudes in the pros. He's about to have what? 1, 2, right? 2 guys off top that are going to be guaranteed first round picks.
Probably 3. AB, Nick Smith, and Ricky Council.
Council too, yeah. Council could be definitely a first round pick. We saw him, emerge this season, especially with all the injuries they had. Could definitely, and if Brazil was healthy, he might have 4.
Exactly.
So, must put guys in the league, and guess what? You want to go somewhere where you get playing time, and you're gonna get the fast track to the league. Who's gonna put you in the league, and who's gonna give you playing time? And he'll slot in right there, and that'd be because I think it was Texas was the spot, but I think it was always Arkansas was 2, right?
Yep.
They were always the number 2. So, could still be Texas, but I feel like if it was Texas, he'd be at Texas,
Exactly.
Usually when we see this, you don't see the guy usually go back. It's usually like, all right, he's going somewhere else. So I'm assuming it's probably going to be Arkansas, and that seems like that's the betting favorite right now, and that would be a hell of a pickup from us. We both pro Musk guys, so that would be a hell of a he's one of the best in the country and all that, and even with all the injuries last year, and like I said, if they get Jordan Walsh, obviously he might be in the portal. We don't know. We'll see what happens. Like I said, things could change just like that overnight. I mean, if they can get him back, that's a great addition too. So, Musk doing things and all there. Like I said, he puts guys in the pros and all that. He's been an NBA coach. He's, like I said, he's coached all over the world. And adding Rob, that's a great piece to add. I'm sure he'll be very happy to add that. So we'll see what happens. But there was those are the 2 names I forgot in the transfer portal. Arthur Kaluma. I've been a big Arthur Kaluma guy. I think if he goes pro, I think he could sneak up and be a first round pick. I think he's talent. His first round pick is just the situation at Creighton. They have so many dudes and all that. And it was just hard to, his game is a little bit different, a little bit more ISO guy, it didn't really fit and all. But there was moments where you saw like, man, this dude's definitely first round pick and all that. He entered the transfer portal. His name is still in the NBA draft. So he'll have a decision to make. And then Julian Phillips, Tennessee, another kid, highly talented coming out, top 10 kid coming out. Situation at Tennessee, up and down and all that, but we saw the talent and all that. But did he put his name in the NBA draft?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't remember seeing his name. So, he's in the transfer portal. So, a highly touted kid, on the block. So those 2 names I want to talk about. Let's talk about Arthur, like I said, he kind of felt like the odd man out in that whole that in their starting five. And like I said, we raved about them team because they felt like they were so balanced. They had every type of player you needed, and injuries and a whole bunch of stuff, and they still made a run. They were a couple buckets, could have been in the Final Four and all that. But Arthur Kaluma in the portal, but he's still in the NBA draft, so he's gonna have a decision to make and all that. So, what if he does decide to come back? What are some teams? What's the perfect system for him? Because he has a particular skill set that he's got to be real careful where he goes, so he don't have to be in the same situation again because he has first round talent. So if he wants to come back, he could definitely be a first round pick. So what's a spot you like Arthur to think about?
Honestly, we're using him as the background right now. We just touched on
and we USC. Just said, what do they need? They need some wings. We might have just made a spot for you, man. USC.
And one thing about Enfield, I will give him credit for, he lets his players rock out. Like if you can get a bucket, no pun intended, he will let you go get a bucket. Like for real. So he'll let you rock out. They play a lot of isolation basketball over there. So I think that's a spot. I think San Diego State would definitely be a spot. They're losing a lot of talent down there.
He feels like a San Diego State player.
His brother went there. His brother played there this past year. So we'll see how that works out. But I think it's some options for him. Again, you're going to see a lot of teams trying to scramble to find talent, and Arthur Kaluma is definitely one of the better late talents in the transfer portal. So I think off the top of my head, I like those 2 probably the most. Just come back to the West Coast, bro. It's the best for you. West Coast kids are just better on the West Coast. Every time they try and go far, I know Creighton's kind of like the Midwest, but still, man, it's nothing like the best coast. So come back home. I think SC is a good spot for him. I think San Diego State's a good spot for him. I think he'd thrive at either one of those, man. And the thing with Creighton, though, too, is that it's interesting because you're losing Trey Alexander to the draft. He's more than likely going to stay in there.
Yeah.
You lost Ryan Nembhard to Gonzaga, where he'll thrive at. Baylor Shireman's going to be back. If I'm Ryan Kalkbrenner, I'm looking at my options like, damn, if I was him, I would put my name into the transfer portal. I'll just put it like that. Just because what are you going back to? You got your boy Stephen Ashworth from Utah State, good player. But outside that, this Creighton team this last year was probably their most talented team of all time. And if you're Ryan Kalkbrenner was the nucleus that put all that together. bro, if he hits the transfer portal, he automatically is the most coveted player in the transfer portal by far.
Oh yeah,
And
for
the reason
sure.
why Creighton is losing these dudes is because what it sounds like is they don't have the money NIL wise.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of makes sense being that they're in Omaha, Nebraska. They are a private institution. I didn't even know that until like a couple years ago. But I'm just saying, man, if you're Ryan Kalkbrenner, I would explore my options. And by the time this is out, it's only going to be a few hours left for the transfer portal entry date before it ends. But
Yeah, it's technically, we're recording on the 11th technically. So, but later today, I mean, I don't know the exact time it closes, but it's today.
I think it's
You know,
midnight.
if you're listening
So,
to this, it's today.
yeah.
It's going to be closing.
So I don't think he will. Personally, I'm just saying he has to explore his options, bro, because again, they were so talented, but the thing that held them together was him. He protected the rim. He gave him floor spacing.
Yeah.
He was the
Was he
hustle guy.
defensive player of the year last year? Not this year,
Yeah,
last
he
year, right?
probably should last year, and he probably should have won it this year too. To be honest, I think
Mm-hmm.
Sanogo won, if I'm not mistaken, but which isn't crazy. But regardless, like you got to consider it. But for Kaluma, bro, I'm waiting to see what schools contact him. They haven't really put out a list like that. If I'm Missouri, that's another one. Dennis Gates, I would definitely look at him. Another one too, Kansas State. Kansas State loses a lot of talent,
They're
man.
losing a lot. Yeah,
I don't know
they
what
need to replenish.
exactly. So those are a couple other ones too. So I don't know what Keontae Johnson going to do. I know he's put his name into the NBA draft. He got invited to the combine, which is good for him. Congrats. But I think his decision is kind of interesting. But I actually like those last two, man, between Kansas State and who did I just mention? Kansas State and why am I blanking right now? I literally just said it. But regardless, Arthur Kluma is going to have his options, man. There's going to be plenty of schools out there that contact him and try and get his services. Another one, too, I'll say real quickly, Auburn. Auburn could definitely use another wing as well, too. So watch out for those kind of schools, man. I said Missouri, too, by the way. Missouri definitely needs some wing play.
Yeah, he's gonna have a decision to make. I think just a gut. I think he stays in the draft. I think people are going to see the talent and all that. He's going to stand out. You see a lot of people say that has a lot of Siakam in his game, and you kind of see that when he had his opportunities to have some big games at Creighton. So I think ultimately he gets that top 40 guarantee with all that, and I think he stays in the draft. That's just my gut. It's if I'm a GI because I think he's a lot of untapped potential and all that. People got him because of like his ISO style and all that, but I feel like his game translates well to the next level. But he's got options. He's gonna get a bunch of teams, in college coming after him and want him. So he's definitely gonna be coveted, and whether in the draft or in college. So good luck to Arthur in his future endeavors. But you got Julian Phillips, another top talent and all that. Things didn't go right at Tennessee. Like I said, very up and down. There were some games where he only played a couple minutes and all that. Tough situation last year. So he's in the portal. Like I said, I don't think he put his name in the NBA draft. I didn't see anything. So, what are some spots you see him, potentially landing, or where would you like to see him go?
I'm a damn near guarantee Auburn, just because his original out of high school was between Tennessee and Auburn, and it looked like Auburn was a perceived favorite until like the very last minute of the day he announced, and it ended up going to Tennessee. So I think with Bruce Pearl, you've already lost Johan Traore to UC Santa Barbara. You lost Chance Westry. He's at Syracuse now. You need wings. You need wings, man. And Julian Phillips, to me, is an NBA player, and he's a hell of a player at that. I think Bruce Pearl would absolutely maximize him, especially being a second-year player. He's going to put on more weight. He's going to understand what it takes. He's already played in the SEC, so he doesn't have to really get acclimated to the conference like that.
Yeah, he just did that physicality because Tennessee, they were physical this year.
Exactly. So I think Auburn's the perfect spot. I mean, it could be a couple other ones, like maybe a few, but to me, Auburn has to get this done. If you're Bruce Pearl, he completely changes the entire dynamic and ceiling of your team, and he could be another Jabari Smith. I don't think he'll be the scorer, but just overall, I think he's a more talented player, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, he just does everything. He defends at a high level. He blocks shots. He rebounds. He runs the floor. He can score from anywhere. Tennessee, offensively, they're just incompetent. They didn't know how to use him. He was a freshman. They were trying to run the offense through Ziegler and Vescovi, but he was the clear answer. Bruce Pearl's going to make sure he gets his touches. And so I think Auburn, perfect fit. I wouldn't even look at another school if I was him.
Yeah, and there's going to be opportunities there because they have a lot of guys that they're leaving. They got a couple guys they're going to see. They're coming back, testing their waters in the draft and all that. But definitely an opportunity for him. So that Auburn could be definitely a good spot for him. So that's going to be very intriguing to see where he goes because we we know the talent's there. We said that Tennessee's offense was kind of it was more about just physicality and all that. And like I said, going through Vescovi and all that. So it just felt like too much up and down with him and all that. But we'll see where he picks his next because he's talented. He's definitely a lottery. I mean, a lot of preseason mock drafts had him, top 15, top 10. So the talent's there, and but Bruce can definitely get the best out of, especially players that you know you don't expect to be covered in the draft, and then boom, Jabari goes top 3. Like we knew talent Jabari, but he was able to unlock him to become a top 3 pick. And then you saw the end of the year with Houston. He came on and really showed out that he potentially could be a star in this league. So Auburn might be the spot for him. So we'll see what happens there and all that. But like I said, the transfer portals closing today, right? So we're gonna see some names. But we're also gonna see a lot of names that they're gonna be, like this the risk you take, and you might not get where you want to go. So, going to be interesting to see, what other names decide to go. But I want to talk about a search, coach we like, but got into some hot water, and that's Mr. Bob Huggins. You sent me what he said, and I was like, wow, it was crazy. And we won't say what he said, but some inappropriate things he said on a radio station. I think he's familiar with those guys. I think he's been on those shows, but he said some not so nice things about what was the school that was it Xavier?
Yep.
Yeah, Xavier. Not so nice things about Xavier and all that, and got into some hot water and wound up catching a suspension, I believe, right? I don't know how long the suspension is. Do you recall how long the suspension
Three
was?
games. Three
So
games.
it'd be a 3-game suspension. I think he got fined too. But I think he will not be coaching this year for West Virginia. I feel like this is just they needed to do something quick, reactionary, because that's everything's reactionary nowadays. I think eventually they're slowly because he's kind of the old school kind of coach, and it feels like a lot of those coaches are either leaving or getting fired and all that. And he's kind of the last of that old. We've seen, like we said, we've seen a lot of these coaches. Roy Williams is gone, Coach K is gone.
Jay Wright.
Jay Wright's gone, and Jay Wright was one of the younger ones, but he's gone. Boeheim's gone.
Yep.
You still got your boy cooking. He's at the game right now, chilling.
Yep.
He's like, yo, I got a billion. I got an owner who's coached a billionaire who's now owner of a team and all that, HBO and all that. You got your boys chilling and all that. But in my opinion, I feel like the writing's on the. I feel like it's this
a
is
wrap.
it, but I don't know. It's just the feeling. It hasn't been the best. West Virginia has always been respectable since he's gotten there, but it feels like it's kind of it's dying down and all that. And like I said, he's had a legendary career. This what he said was obviously bad, right? But I feel like he's done a lot of good stuff in the basketball. Like the situation that happened in I forgot the player that got hurt. It was against Duke, 09. I think that's when Duke won the chip. I forgot the player's name. I just watched the video too, but player he busted his knee, he tore his knee up. And you just see the emotion that Bob Huggins had with that play. Like he cared about him. In the situation, you see coaches would just stand there and just be like, it's gonna be all right. But he got in there like, yo, he was really in his face and all that, telling him, everything's gonna be good and all that. Making him feel as comfortable as possible in that player's worst time. And we've heard a lot of good things and all that, but obviously this is a bad situation. But I just feel like this is going to be a reason for West Virginia to be able to cut the cord on them, and it's just my feeling. Just I've seen we've seen these situations, and then it's just like, all right, they get the suspension, and it's like, all right, this is step one of it's a try to change change the guard on us. So in my opinion, I think the suspension's there, but I think eventually, whether it's mutual, whether it's a resignation, they might push the resignation. You know how they do that. You know, he resigned, but we don't want to fire him. So that's just my opinion. I think he will not be coaching at West Virginia this year. What's your thoughts on the situation, and do you think he's gonna, will end up coaching at West Virginia next season?
Yeah. So first of all, the player you were talking about was Deshaun Butler.
Sean Butler, yes.
Yeah, I think he's coaching nowadays actually. So shout out to him. But with that, man, I think he's gonna make it through just because he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, as of now, they're really only giving him a tap on the wrist, a pat on the wrist, whatever you want to call it. It's nothing crazy like 3 games. He did say some outlandish stuff. And honestly, for him, it's not even outlandish because one thing about him, why he's so respected, is because he just says what's on his mind.
Oh, yeah.
He's always been like that. And so it is crazy, but if you're talking Bob Huggins, it's not that crazy. So
nah, yeah.
With him, I think he's gonna make it through, man. Just because of 2, like you said, they have not been good since Javon Carter stepped off campus with Dr. Miles. They've been taking a steep decline. But this year's team could potentially be nice, and they actually showed.
They got a lot of good returnings.
Yeah, and they bring in Kirk Creaser. They bring in Jesse Edwards from Syracuse. Like they got players, and like
Jose
I said,
Perez, the kid from that didn't get to play last year from Manhattan. That whole weird situation. They get him. That's 19 a game.
And so exactly. So again, they were trending in the right direction towards the back end of last season, and I expect them to take that momentum and run with it this year. So we'll see what happens, but I'm gonna say he pulls through, man. I honestly think that he's one of the bigger faces when you talk about West Virginia athletics, and it'd be hard just for it to end like this. Even though, honestly, as you said, he's older, he's up in age. They might be pushing him to that. Let's be honest. I think he's actually up for a new contract too, if I'm not mistaken. So. And I believe they also have a new athletic director too. So he could be very, very close to pushing that line, man. If he hasn't pushed that line, he's definitely
like you said, they haven't had the success since 2018. Like since 2018, they made the Sweet 16. 2019, 15 and 21, then the 21 and 10 season. That was the COVID year. 19 and 10, 16 and 17, 4 and 14 in Big 12 play, and then 19 and 15 this year. They made the tournament. They barely made. They had a nice end to the season, but the last 3 seasons, forget the COVID year, the last 4 seasons, if you just minus the COVID year, it's been shaky, so they might have been thought they really had, but now, that's what I'm thinking, is now this is their excuse to be all right, let's cut it, because now because how it is, people are going to be like, well, the 3 games, that's it. Because I already hear that, oh, he only got 3 games and all that, and that's just and if it keeps becoming bad press because he only got the 3 games, how that happens in today's world, it's gonna get even crazier. They're gonna be like, and then it's like, all right, we gotta fire him, because that's all you hear now. Should he have been fired and all that, And listen, he made a mistake. He didn't use the proper words and all that. It was irresponsible to do that. It's crazy for a man to potentially lose his job that's had so much credit and done good for the university and all that. We all make mistakes. Obviously, he made a big one, but we know how today's society is. So that's my thing. I was like, I don't think he's gonna last. I think they're gonna force him away. Like I said, it's one thing if he was winning 25 games a year, and it's like, all right, well, dude's winning 25 games a year and all that. Add a couple games to suspension and all that. But it's been, up and down seasons the last, 5 years. So, and maybe they feel like a new face, is it something? But, maybe they, unless they don't, the coach, they don't have the right coach. But I don't know. We've seen these things play out, and it's like, all right, eventually it's like, all right, let's just get him out. And that's just the feeling I have. And, the unfortunate situation, but, we'll see what happens though. But it's just crazy, man.
That's the thing too. It's like I can't even imagine West Virginia basketball without him. You know what I'm saying? Like, where would they even go? Like, obviously, the situation is bigger than the next coaching hire, right? Obviously, I'm not ignoring that factor whatsoever. But I'm just saying, like, it's like Duke. It's still hard for me to process not seeing Coach K on the sideline. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, I'm gonna have to get used to not seeing Izzo on our sideline. It's hard for me to imagine that. So I mean, in West Virginia, it's not no easy job. You in the middle of the country. That's a
That's a
hard.
tough.
That's a
He's
tough
made
recruiting
that
field.
job,
Yeah,
very, especially when he first got there. He's definitely made that job very good. But that's not. It's not a
exactly.
tough job. Like it's not an easy job. Like you said, you in the middle. You in West Virginia, not Virginia.
Hey,
West Virginia. You know,
it's
that's
tough.
a tough gig, and he's made the best of it. He's had some really good runs, Final Four. I think like 2009, 10, around that.
Yeah,
So he's had some success and all that, but they might just feel like, all right, the totality of it is like, we've had one, a couple good runs, but overall, it's not what it is. But like I said, it's a tough job. Okay, we know how some of these jobs, like, especially in basketball, like it's tough. It's tough to overcome like where you're at. Like we see Creighton. Creighton had a good team, but now they don't got with NIL and all that. It's hard to compete. They gotta tell you school to step up. Get some
exactly.
lemonade stands going. You gotta step up your game. I think we'll see a lot more of these coaches be like, yo, yeah, I need to raise some money. Y'all want good play. Y'all want to be relevant. You need to step up your game and get some money in your pockets. Because it's gonna be tough. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does come back because they might just be like, all right, we need a coach for this year, and then if it's another down year, no tournament, 17 and 16,
Let's wrap it up.
let's wrap it up, and then
Yeah,
because then you could probably have a better coaching search and all that, and then you don't want, so you don't want to lose the trust of the players and all that. So I could see them doing that, but this might just be it. This might be I think it's definitely at least his last season there.
hmm.
They might be like, all right, let's get one season and all that. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking opening day this year and he's not there. Just because it's how these things play out, in this new the way of the world that we live in. So, because 3 games, people will be like, what? And then that snowballs, and then West Virginia's getting bad press, and schools don't want that, and then boom, he's out. So but fortunate for him, it's bad judgment of words, but we'll see what happens, coach, with Coach Huggins. It's been if it is it, great run him as a coach, but unfortunate way potentially for him to you know, uh go out this way. But gotta be smart, man. Even you old heads, be smart what you say.
Gotta watch what you say, man.
Yeah, you gotta watch. Guess what? Everyone's listening. You gotta be careful, especially today. Everybody recording, everybody find out. He probably thought he was because I think he was cool with those people, so he probably just comfortable and all that. Get a little too comfortable, things slip, and then we in this situation. But like I said, one of the last of the old heads as far as coaches and all that. Izzo was him. Izzo. I'm trying to think of any other older coaches. I mean, a lot of them have been out of the game. Recently. So we're seeing a new influx of new young coaches. See Damon. Stoudemire. Down at Georgia Tech doing some things. Stackhouse might be trying to get up out of Vanderbilt.
Man,
He might be trying to take the Toronto job. That's the thing. We said, like I mentioned before, some of these jobs, I mean, that's a tough job, Vanderbilt. And you always take a job, right? D1
yep,
job, you take it, right? Especially if you're
yep,
just starting to get coaching. But some of these jobs are tough, bro. Vandy's not we know Vandy as, like what did he say? The Harvard of what was Vanderbilt? Tennessee. I don't know what.
yeah, something
Tennessee,
like
right?
that. Yeah,
Down so the Harvard of the South and all that. They say that like these, it's even though you're Jerry Stackhouse, it's tough. It's still you gotta make sure these kids got the grades and all that, man. Some of these jobs are tough, and I wish more people had more patience. Especially with these
man.
schools and all that, because it's man, some of these
Especially with
jobs.
Stack too, because I ain't gonna lie. If Stack waits his turn a couple more years, he could get that North Carolina job, man.
That's what
It
I'm
could be it for him.
saying.
So
That's why if I'm stacked, like I know the Toronto job. I think he interviewed for the Toronto job, or they're interested potentially.
yeah,
But I don't know Vandy. There's some things going on, but he waits it out. How I don't know what's gonna happen to Carol. Like you said, when we talked about that, like but in previous shows, like, is this something you waited out? Do you take that risk? because it's a risk. Because what if it is Carolina? They could easily get a good recruiting class and they back up.
Yep.
Just like that. This season, how many times have we seen Carolina do this? They have some great years, and then they have those weird years, right? Where they're bad, like last season, and then they back up. They win 30 games and they win the national champ. Like they have those weird years. Like we've seen that countless times with them. So they could be back up next year, and then it's like, man, maybe whatever. So he's gonna have, but there's some jobs where you're like, it's like, well, off the top of your head, what are jobs do you like that are Power 6 jobs off the top of your head that you're like, I gotta think about that one. Like, let's say all the jobs are open, all the jobs are open, but and give me like off the head like 3-4 that you're like, I don't know about that one.
I'll tell you 2 in my state right now in the Pac-12: Stanford and Cal. 2 hard jobs.
Cal.
Cal is.
When was the last time Cal was relevant in basketball? At least Stanford had some years where they were solid and all that. Like, but Cal, I mean, I'm trying to
consistently back in the day when they had Amir Abdur-Rahim and Jason Kidd, and Kevin Johnson.
That's an early night.
My mom was there at that time, so that's a long time ago.
That's a minute.
They had the one Jaylen Brown year, but that was literally 1 year with him and Ivan Rabb.
That was one, yeah. Ivan Rabb, forgot that he was with the Knicks for a couple calls.
Yeah, but even with Stanford too, like Stanford actually cares about their athletics more than Vandy and Cal, but they don't really show it. Like they get the players, but they lose them. You've had Zaire Williams, you've had Harrison Ingram just leave last year. You had Issa Silva come up there, he transferred out. Like they get players. You got Stojakovic on the way. We're gonna see how that goes. You know what I'm saying? So
Stojakovic can turn it up.
But it's a few like I mean West Virginia's tough too, bro. Like it's definitely a lower tier job in the Big 12. In the SEC, tough jobs, they're all in the state of Mississippi. I'll be good on all of them. Like they say Mississippi State's a good job, but I don't know. Like, is it really compared to the rest?
Ole Miss is a tough job. That's tough.
What I'm saying. South Carolina, like Clemson, you trying to recruit guys to South Carolina, that's tough, man. Nothing against South Carolina.
Hoopers there, yeah. There's not a lot of hoopers this time.
It's hard, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you're competing against the Georgias and the Louisianas and things like that. So it's tough. And don't forget to mention Florida. Like,
I'm surprised Georgia is not more power.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. We're gonna have to come back to this, but Georgia might be nice next year. They added a lot of talent, and Georgia Tech too, with Damon Stoudemire. But Georgia, the Bulldogs, I said last year, Mike White was the smartest man in the SEC. Why? Because he left Florida, where I'll be honest, the expectations have come down a lot because obviously Billy Donovan, the cloud that he was weighing over them.
Yeah, they had a run. But even before that, like David Lee, like they were building that up and then to that power.
And Mike White was smart because he left there. He goes to Georgia, and Mike White's a cool coach, but Florida is a high-level job to some people. But Georgia is no expectations. Why? Because they dominate football every year. And so now you're at a school where, first of all, you're a football program, which most SEC schools are outside like Kentucky and Arkansas. But on top of that, Georgia's a hotbed of talent. And again, we got to save this because I actually want to talk about them because Georgia, when it comes to the transfer portal, they've been one of the best teams in the country at getting talent. They got RJ Melendez from Illinois. They got a couple guys. They got Blue Kane out of the high school class. Like, they got players, man. I don't know if they're going to be good next year, but they have the talent to make a lot of noise in the SEC.
Yeah. Like, Northwestern's a tough job. Like, they made the tournament shit, and they made some noise.
That's history for them.
But that's like, other than the last time they made it was like 6 years, but prior to that, but like overall, the last 20 years, and they made it like 2-3 times and all that. So that's a tough job. Like a lot of those, we know those smart schools, like, that have high standards of academics are tough, that's why it's like Duke is surprised. Like, I mean, obviously Coach K built that thing, but like they're like, I know for football, like they've been trash for football for a while. They finally got back to being a little bit solid, but like, Penn State, like
that's another one.
That's a tough gig. I mean, they didn't make the tournament for a while, and then to get that team. But yeah, there's just some like the smart schools and all that. Like, there's some
Oh, I'll say another one in the Big Ten, Nebraska.
Nebraska's a tough job.
That's a
When's the
tough one.
last time they've been relevant in basketball? So I'm gonna look at Nebraska.
And credit to Fred Hoiberg too, because they put a couple pros into the league between Bryce McGowan's and
Bryce,
Delano
Bryce is with
Banton.
Charlotte, right? Bryce is with
Yep.
Charlotte. Yeah, he's
Yep. And you got Delano Banton up there in Toronto too. So
yeah, Banton too.
he's got some guys, but it's Nebraska, dog. Like, with all due respect, I've actually heard that Lincoln is a solid city, but I heard it's not better than Omaha.
Got one tournament appearance, and I'm only seeing it till 2008. So since 08, it probably goes back even further. But they only got one tournament appearance and no win, so they haven't won a tournament game in some time in Nebraska. You know,
it's
not like and to think like Nebraska in the 90s was popping. You know, they were winning national championship football and all that.
Yep.
You know, yeah, even though like Notre Dame is a tough job. You know, there's
tough.
There's some jobs and all that. You know, and like
another one, Pitt.
It's a tough job, yeah.
And I know that probably sounds crazy to some people because it is talent in the state of Pennsylvania, but you're not the number one school because you have Villanova. Like, you're always to get the top talent. Villanova is the number one priority for all the top kids in PA.
Mm-hmm.
And so you competing with them and Penn State. You're a bigger brand than Penn State, probably. I mean, sure, that's arguable actually because football, Penn State is booming. But I mean, dog, like, it's talent in Pennsylvania, but Pitt and Villanova, they run it.
St. John's, bro. St. John's. St. John's is a tough gig. Not a lot of teams.
That's one of them ones. It shouldn't be that tough though.
And that's the crazy part, bro. Because we got the talent. It's New York, right? You're playing at the Garden. You would think that would be, you know, maybe if they were called New York, you know, maybe that's it. But because it's St. John's, you can't really like. It doesn't, you know, obviously it doesn't have the New York, so it's like I don't know. That's just I know they don't got the facilities and all that, but now obviously they got Patino there, so things have changed. But like, you know, I don't think when's the last time they won a tournament game? Shit, that's got to be back to the 2000s and all that. Early 2000s.
Probably pushing.
They won with Ron and Felipe.
I think they might have went closer than that though.
Maybe because I'm seeing until 2008. I don't see a win. They made the tournament 3 times, no wins. They didn't even make the tournament with Mike Anderson. Chris Mullen part-time and at least got them to I thought Steve Lavin was going to be it though. I thought Lavin was it, man. He had that, it felt like that New York vibe to all come from UCLA and all that. Didn't work, but you know, some tough gigs and all that, but you know, programs that could still, you know, maybe do some things and shit. But Kev, that's another great episode to Get a Bucket, man. Appreciate you for hopping on. It's late, bro. It's almost 1 o'clock East New York time. I've drunk way too many energy drinks, so I've been up since 5:30. But you know, these energy drinks are wild, man. I don't know how these kids do it. I drunk 2, and I'm like, oh, I'm like this, so I might be up for a little bit more. But you know, I'm watch the Knicks win again, just so I can feel good about myself in case we lose Game 6. But Kev, another great one in the books, bro.
Yes, sir, man. As always. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Got a shout out to the network, man. Shout out to Off the Ball Network for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Hope all y'all doing well out there, staying safe. The world's kind of a crazy place right now, as always, but y'all be easy. And just be good, man. Be easy out there.
Yup, y'all be safe, man. It's a lot of craziness going on. Watch your surroundings, man. It's, you know, it's crazy that we got to go through this in this world, but you know, just keep your head on a swivel. You know, even if you do that, man, it's just crazy. But just be safe out there, everyone. Appreciate everyone who's listening to the show. Forgot to shout out the sponsor, SeatGeek. Use the promo code Off the Ball Network, all cash to get $20 off. We got NHL playoffs, we got NBA playoffs, got a bunch of football seasons coming up, you know, and all that. So use that when you go to take your shorty to I was about to say prom. You don't need that. You want to take your girl to watch the opera and all that, use promo code Off the Ball Network, all cash to get $20 off your first purchase. But like I said, another great episode in the books. That's Kev Lucas. I'm Chris LeBron. Follow me Off the Ball Pod. Kev Mufasa 7. Follow him. Like I said, appreciate everyone who's tuned into the show. Continue support. Be well. Be safe. Take care. Peace out.